Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. We are live. We are live. We are live. Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Oh, and somebody's joining me. Somebody's joining me. Who's joining me? Oh, well, it's just the AI recorder grain. What it does, which is kind of nice, beside making a recording, is it does an actual summary, the AI. It says Saul said this, so and so said that, Cher said this, Jessica said this. It's just too fantastic. It's pretty accurate too. New technology. It's very useful. Very useful. Actually, I'm going to start putting it in when I share, like share to YouTube and to my blog. Uh, uh, I share to my blog. That'd be kind of handy to put in the description. Uh, that'd be kind of nice. That'd be kind of nice. All right. I'm just getting all the little fiddly things done, marking it as featured. And yeah, here we go. We're live. We're live. Mark as featured. And to pin it to the top, I have to refresh the page. The strangest thing. Who knows? Why Facebook does what it does. Oh. All right. So today we're going to, at least I'm going to focus on. Brilliant. Hello, Ramsey. Hello, Ramsey. Hello, Ramsey. Ramsey, if you'd like to come on Zoom, you're more than welcome. You want to come and discuss the topic today as we go through, as things come up, you're more than welcome. Just let me know. I'll shoot you the Zoom link. No problem. You're more than welcome. So, fantastic. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I expect Norma is going to be here soon too. So, yeah. Just check. Okay. So let me know, Ramsey. Let me know. Let me know if you want to come on the Zoom. I mean, you participate via the chat, but you're welcome to come and participate on the Zoom itself. Yeah, if you want to. You're more than welcome. More than welcome. Up to you. Just let me know. All right. Let me do this as well. There we go. See, how about that? We'll get professional. See, now you don't see my partner here, my AI partner. There, you see? Oh my goodness! Now I'm like really just about to eat the camera here. I don't know why it zoomed me in so much, but all right. Well, you just gotta live with it. What can you do? I can zoom out a little bit even. I see. Okay. All right. No problem. Next time. Next time. No problem. All right. Wonderful. All right. So we're going to talk about discipline and old self-management. Old self being a hyphenated term here, right? Being the concept. So we have to manage the old self, and this does require some discipline. This is very key term. This to understand that the old self, as much as we change, much as we transform, that doesn't mean that the old self goes away. Right? I don't remember what I all said in the course, so we'll go to the course. Now we're on the. I'm going to screen share here so that we can see in a second. I'm on the module is application to ensure lasting self-change and life change. This is our key, yes, that we want lasting life change and self-change. Huh? Oh, hi, Elise. Brilliant. Okay. Oh, my pleasure, Elise. My pleasure. My pleasure. Well, you're more than welcome to jump into anytime, anytime. I'm glad you're here. So, Elise, I'm starting on a very, very potent topic, very potent topic. And this is discipline and old self-management, right? Discipline with our self-talk is essential. We've been covering this last week and the week before. We talked about vocabulary and power conceptions, and this all links to self-talk. Learning to watch our every word and utterance is essential. I cannot emphasize this enough. I mean here, right, when I'm saying uh, to watch our every word and utterance, it's absolutely critical we do this. Okay, no problem, no problem. All right, well, I hope we see you again. So this is great, Elise. This is great. Every Friday this time, I'm continuing. This is part of the course, freedom from anxiety and worry. Right, we're on module 6 now. So every Friday, sometimes we don't get very far because we go really into depth. So this is cool that you're here, Elise. Just so this is excellent. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. Marvelous, marvelous. All right, so I'm saying here this point about watching out every single word. Back in the day, I like the back in the day stories because they tend to make a point really well. Back in the day when computer programming was new, right? And when I was at university studying computer programming, this was like a huge deal, right? This stuff was new. I mean, actually, personal computers weren't really out yet. Yes, it was right at the start. It was 1981. So what we were learning to program was the mainframes, right? Big, huge, massive computers. And what you had were punch cards. Now, a punch card was kind of like, about this size, more or less, and literally had little holes punched in it, which, you compiled your program and you submitted your program into the compiler, which then punched it onto the punch cards for you. And then you had this whole stack of punch cards, and heaven help you if you drop those punch cards because there's no way to put them back in order again. Anyway, and you had to take the punch cards and feed them into the computer. Now, if you made one comma out of place, one comma, one period, one misspelling, whatever, one single mistake, doesn't matter how small, how tiny, it's totally irrelevant. One mistake, program doesn't work. Rejected, failure, and you got to go back and start all over again, right? Hello, Norma. Hello, Norma. Wonderful. I'm making the point about the punch cards because obviously today, you type out the program and it's a lot quicker and easier to do it. Of course, the programs are also a zillion times more complicated, right? So one mistake can cause many, many problems. And we see this sometimes, like in gaming, you see this, right? There's a little glitch somewhere and everybody's complaining about this. Why does this work? Whatever. And the programmers, the developers of the games, they spend sometimes years, I mean, literally years tracking down these bugs. Okay. So we are similar. Now, the difference between us and those gaming programs is that we program our own game inside our head, our own selves. And the way we do it is via our language, yes, via our conceptuality, via our emotions, via our feelings. In other words, via emphasis. What's important to us changes our brains, literally changes the wiring in your brain. Now, if you say something, isn't what you say important, especially when it's about you? Because we honest people and we want to be honest, right? So if I say something about myself, my inner honesty is going to want to make that true. So what we say about ourselves is absolutely critical. If I say, oh, I'm a worry pot, well, you make yourself a worry pot. I give you a good example, right? A really good example. Let me end the screen share here. Hello, Norma. Hello, Norma. And this is my summer house, by the way. Yeah. just for the summer. Anyway, and just by the by, at least in my fantasies. Yeah. This point about self-talk, I give a really good example of how self-fulfilling it is. As we get older, people tend to say, "Oh, I'm getting older. I'm losing my memory," or they say, "Yeah, it's just I keep forgetting. That's just something that happens as you get older." Well, keep saying that, and you're going to make it true. We don't necessarily forget more because we're older. Matter of fact, I think we forget less because when I was a child, we used to get hidings for forgetting stuff, right? And some of the kids got hidings every single day. They forgot something or other. Every day. It blew my mind. How are you not remembering from yesterday? Well, and then I understood because they fell into bubbles of unawareness. And this happened to me sometimes, and I was horrified. And so I made every effort since then to study awareness, to make an effort to be aware, to be deliberate. But my point is, they forgot all the time. The kids were forgetting left, right, and center. To me, forgetting and kids go hand in hand, right? Children, not kids. Yes, Norma, I know they're little goats, but the language is changing. So, so anyway, children forget. The difference between children and older people is, as you get older, you become more aware and you start noticing that you forget. Brilliant. Yes, Cheryl. Wonderful. Wonderful. Right. So you notice that you forget. You're more than welcome to come and join me on Zoom again, Cheryl. I love it when you come. So as we get older, we notice that we forget. And because we notice, we now draw emphasis to, oh, I forgot again. So what? You forgot again when you were a child all the time, but you never said anything about it. So you just believed you had a good memory, right? But as you get older, you now start saying stuff like, oh, I keep forgetting. See, look at that. I keep forgetting. Look at that nuanced language there. Not I forgot, which is just a statement of fact. And it doesn't imply a pattern. But if you say I keep forgetting, you're now implying this is a regular ongoing thing. And also I keep forgetting, it's kind of future tense too, right? Future continuous, whatever they call it. But the programming says, oh, well, this is going to also happen in the future. You programming your brain with that simple extra little one word in there, right? I keep forgetting. Or I'm so forgetful. Same thing. I'm so forgetful. You saying this is how you are. And again, you perpetrate a pattern. You program yourself. This is really key to understand that our language is critical, to really watch every single word, not just what you say, but what you think as well. Yes. One thing I would recommend on this, just as a practice, as a mechanism to get you tuned in to paying attention to your language, is make the deliberate conscious effort to set the intent to say, I'm going to finish my sentences. Now, don't just finish your sentences out loud, but finish them in your head as well. Very simple trick, very simple tool, very simple task and exercise, but incredibly powerful. Once you start paying attention to say, wow, I really don't finish my sentences. This is incredible. And then you start finishing them. And then you realize how woefully unprepared you are for saying what you say. Yeah. Yeah. Look at my face. I'm going to scowl at you a little bit. What the hell just vomited out of your mouth there? That you went 3-4 words and then you had to jump into another sentence. That means you never thought about what you were going to say. You weren't clear about what you were going to say. Just spewing stuff. Don't just spew stuff. Think about what you say. Know what you're going to say. Talk about what you know, what's important to you. If not, then don't say anything. No? Pay attention to what you say. But if you get into the habit of finishing your sentences, that is going to stand you in good stead. Because in order to finish your sentences, you have to think about what you're saying. And if you're starting to think about what you're saying, you're going to be more careful about what you're saying, more deliberate about what you're saying. And the moment you start to be more deliberate about what you're saying, you learn to be more deliberate about everything in your life. And being deliberate gives us power, right? It adds meaning and purpose, significance. Incredibly, incredibly powerful. More, I assume you mean synapses, not synopses. More synapses connections when you grow up, and more electricity, better memory, and better thing. Yes, our brains are much, much better as we grow older, except unless we counteract that through this unfortunate tendency for us to be aware when things aren't right. And then we focus on that and we emphasize, and we now train the brain. We literally reconfigure the brain through our emphasis. Yeah. This is super powerful. I'm glad to hear, Cheryl. I'm glad to hear. So Ramsey, yes, the brain is very, very plastic. You know, up until I'm not sure how long ago, but maybe this century or end of the last, in the last 20, 30 years or so, the brain was thought, nah, it's all good. I'll just tease you a little bit there. Yeah. I like that. More synopses connections. Yes, that's a very profound thing to say, but I didn't quite think that's what you meant to say. But it would be, if we say, as we go older, we have more connections because of synopses that we make. In other words, we have a better ability to be abstract, to make summaries, to make those connections. So it's a very cool thing to say, but it's quite what you meant, right? You can edit your comments, by the way. The three little dots on the side, there's a little edit function. So just so you guys know, some people don't realize you can edit your comments. Anyway, I digress. But this ability to abstract is very powerful. But as we get older, we're more aware. Now, this problem isn't just about awareness only, but it's about the habit of focusing on negative things to be aware of. Right. So, all right, let's talk about this managing the old self. Our old self is trained to focus on the negative. Now, let me ask you all there, Ramsey, Norma, Cheryl, Elise, if you're still here. Okay. When last did you huff and puff and say, oh, I forgot again? And you went, oh, I forgot again. Okay. I'm assuming with all of you, this is fairly recently. Yes. Okay. However, when last did you say, yay, I remembered? When you remembered something totally, absolutely trivial. Yeah. I mean, just in this very day, did you not remember? I mean, right, Cheryl, you remember to say good morning. You didn't just say morning or good. Yeah. Norma, you said yeah now. You remembered the word yeah and the word now. My point is, we remember zillions and zillions and zillions of things all day long. But do we celebrate this? I mean, your poor remembering part inside your brain there must be very depressed. I never get any love. I never get any praise, Nobody ever says thank you. But the moment we screw up, then everybody's on us. Yeah. Why? Why? Why do we do this? Jessica is here. Brilliant, brilliant. Hello, Jessica. Wonderful, wonderful. Wonderful. So my point is about appropriate emphasis. Don't go around emphasizing your negative stuff, because then you just reinforce them. Emphasize what you do right, and it will automatically take care of what you don't want to do. I don't even want to say do wrong, because there's no wrong to it. It's just that you want to take what you do and you emphasize it. Now, let's take when you learn a musical instrument, right? If you focus on every time you get that violin goes, I can't make that horrible squeaky sound, but right, if you keep emphasizing that, well, that's all you're going to play. You're going to, oh man, that sounds a bit better. That's, okay. And I got to hold it a little bit higher up, or a little bit more gentle to play, whatever makes it sound better. This is what you're focusing on, because that's what you want more of. That's how you learn. Yeah. That's how we learn most things. You focus on enhancing the positive, and you automatically avoid what you don't want. You don't have to say, oh my God, I played that bad note again every time. If you did this, you're going to train your brain in that, and it's not going to help you very much, right? Now, some people do that. It's a very slow, poor, inefficient way to learn. But there is also that positive emphasis. Now, how does this relate to old self-management? Yes. Yes. There is a capital out there, a capital city called emphasis. Yes, exactly. I like that. I'm just teasing on spelling today. Emphasize your positive focus. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, no, it's wonderful that you're here, Jessica. I figured you at work, but I'm just glad you're here. Emphasize your positive focus. Absolutely. Why do we have to do this with a negative? Where does this nonsense come from? This comes from superiority paradigm where everybody's jockeying for position. Yes. And they're just such a default in chicken land. You're always looking to peck on everybody's head, and they're gonna peck on your head. So this is what you're either trying to do or trying to avoid. So by telling somebody you're wrong, well, that's a way of pecking on their head. Yeah. So this is where all this nonsense comes from. And then we learn it and we start doing it to ourselves. Yeah. Look at my face. What the hell, people? Why? Why? Why not enjoy and appreciate yourself? Yeah. There's no reason for it, just habit. And here we come to the topic of our chat today. We're talking about, for those who come a little later, discipline and old self-management. In other words, to manage your old self. Now, your old self is this nincompoop who's tied up in chicken mindset and superiority paradigm nonsense and feeling bad about things and always apologizing and feeling guilty and self-blame and all of this rubbish, right? It's a terrible system. I want to emphasize something very, 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 very key and very critical in this point of emphasizing the positive. Right. If you emphasize the negative, and yeah, especially if you have negative instruction, like your children, you tell children, don't steal. Okay, that's a good thing to tell your children, and they don't steal. Now, if you have kids that don't steal, does that make them good kids? Does that make them nice kids? Does that make them kind, considerate, generous, thoughtful, caring, um, 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 energetic, productive? No, doesn't make them any of those things. It simply means that they're not stealing. See, we think, oh, that's a good thing. No, teach your kids to be kind and courteous and generous and considerate. Are kids that are kind and generous and courteous and considerate and polite and caring, etc., are they going to steal? It's not even a thought. It's not even a conception. They can't even imagine stealing. It's just not in their world. Because why on earth would I do that? That would be really lousy. It's a horrible thing to do to somebody else. That's just terrible. It just blows their mind. It's like just impossible. You don't need to teach kind and generous and courteous and considerate children not to steal. Yeah. So my point is, if we focus on the negative, yes, you may succeed in not doing the negative. But if you focus on the positive, a positive that takes care of the negative, you don't need to bother with that stuff. It's a waste of energy. Yeah. All that time and effort you spend training your kids not to steal, you could have been training them to be kind and generous and courteous and polite, etc. Yeah. Much, much more sensible and effective. Now, think of yourself as your own child. Yes. Aren't you your own child? It's a good way to think of yourself, because this is the point I also want to make, right? We're talking about our old self, which means there's a new self. We have many selves. I is more than one, and that's grammatically correct. Yes? Let me type that there. I is, to type slowly, so I don't have typos. I is more than one. There we go. That's grammatically correct. We are a multiplicity. Yes, there's your old self, your new self, your changing self. There's your stubborn self, your prideful self, your egotistical self, your vain self, and there's your learning self, your growing self. There's your kind self, your considerate self. We've got dozens of selves. Yes, all different. And how does this come about? When we were children, young, or even now, we tried different personalities, different styles of being, like your stubborn face, right? You guys remember your stubborn face? Who remembers that? I've actually got a picture of myself at 2 years old with that exact pose, right? Well, I had a picture of myself anyway, not anymore, exactly. But when that happened, right, when we went through that phase, when that stubborn phase, whatever, 2 years old, more or less, yeah, it worked. It worked for a time being. We got what we wanted because we were just stubborn and obstinate. But after a while, our parents got tired of it and to hell with that. And pow, you got a smack. Okay, maybe today you don't get a smack anymore. But, and they just stopped putting up with your nonsense, and then it stopped working. So we abandoned that personality and found one that works better, right? And that's what childhood is. You explore and you test. But here's something about the self, and part of the self, right, is that I call it our inner bureaucrats. There is a part, like a bureaucracy, where all of these changes and ways of being and all of these things get sorted through. Very much like a bureaucracy in the world, right? Where they're checking everything and they're making sure what gets kept and what gets filed and all the stuff, right? So what does a bureaucracy do? Have you known any bureaucracy to ever throw anything away? Nope, 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 nope. That goes against every credo and rule of the bureaucracy. Nope, nope, nope. Can't throw anything away. So why don't they throw stubbornness away or pridefulness or whatever? I mean, stubbornness is a good example here, because it worked. And even in life, when you're older, there are times when it is appropriate to kind of dig your holes in and say, nope, not going to happen, right? And be stubborn. Yeah, it works. It's necessary. It's appropriate. Now, of course, as we get older, we learn to be appropriately stubborn. And this is what we want to do with everything. We want to learn to be appropriate. It's a tool like any other tool. Stubbornness in itself is not right or wrong or good or bad. It depends on the appropriate usage, right? Exactly. It serves a purpose, so it doesn't get thrown away. My point is that's why we have these personalities, because when it comes to stubbornness or pridefulness or whatever, it got taken to an extreme at one point. So it's a little sub-personality, and it's sitting there. It's like on your computer. It's like a little program running there. And every now and then it'll pop its head up and say, oh, maybe you can use me, maybe you can use me. It want to get used. They're dumb programs. So we have to know that we have these selves in us. Now we can use that. We think stubbornness is a negative. Not necessarily. Same thing with pride. Oh, we tend to think it's negative. But you can be stubbornly prideful in not having an ego. Try it. Just try and say, oh, I'm going to be take pride in not having an ego, and I'm going to be stubborn about not having an ego. And suddenly you're all motivated. It's like, oh, man, I'm ready to go. Now I'm using my stubbornness and pride for a really good purpose. Yeah, why not? It works like a charm. Ego is a tool. Ego is a tool. Yeah, it's a very profound quote that. Ego is a tool. I is fluid, and you are a different person with any new idea that comes into your head. Yes, Ramsey, exactly. Yes, it is very possible. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I did the exercise. Which one, Norma? Which exercise, Norma? I'm keen to hear. Wow, wonderful, wonderful. It's so cool. So this old self is something that we have to manage all the time. Now, why is the old self so important? I'm gonna before I keep on chatting, I'm gonna want to finish reading the slide because I don't remember what I said on the slide, and I'm probably just repeating myself. But that's all good. This stuff bears emphasis. Okay. So discipline with our self-talk is essential. Learning to watch our every word and utterance is essential. Yes, we need this focus and attention on what we say because of the incredible power it has over ourselves. Plural. See? Selves, plural. Likewise, we need to be absolutely disciplined in making the effort to also see the positive and to be fierce when it comes to changing our old habits. When we worry and are anxious, we need to remind ourselves we can choose to do something different. Managing our old self, thus, is an ongoing project and requires constant vigil because habits of being, which are deeply entrenched, have a momentum and continuity all their own and maintain themselves if we are not persistent and deliberate. Discipline, thus, with our habits and awareness is absolutely crucial. Now, I can't emphasize this enough. Discipline with our old habits and awareness, or any habit, even new ones, is absolutely crucial. And when we say discipline here, it means that when the stuff comes up, you don't say, oh, okay, now I'll deal with it another time. No, now. You deal with it now. You take care of it now. You focus on it. You pay attention. You change. Yes, and you be rigid. And it's only an effort in the beginning. Of course, once you do this for a while, then it starts to become easier and not a problem, and more fluid, and you tend to do it more easily as well and more energy efficient. It's absolutely very possible. Yes, yes, yes. I mean, Jessica knows she's been changing her habits big time. Yes, you can do this. Jessica, you've spoken about this many times, so don't feel like I'm sharing something out of school here. But to change from being an addict is when you are entrenched in the habit of doing something. Yes, taking something, whatever. This is a very deep habit, very physical habit. It's one of the hardest habits to break, but it can be done. What does it take? Take some discipline, right, Jessica? Wow. Let me ask you this. Is it easier today to not be an addict than it was back when you were all immersed in it? Yes, of course. Because as you go longer and longer, it becomes easier and easier, right? So very much so. A great way to look at this is simply sitting with anxiety and worry does nothing to change this situation. Exactly. It only becomes dead weight. Taking care of it and asking yourself the appropriate questions, such as, is there anything I can do to improve my situation? Absolutely. Absolutely. And all it takes is a little bit of effort. I think people engage in anxiety and worry because it's easiest thing for them to do, part of least resistance, right? To actually ask those questions, what can I do? Well, there's a lot of things you can do, but then it's like, well, then I have to do it. I don't want to do it. I'm lazy. But if I'm worried and anxious, well, I'm doing something. I'm worrying. See, just a lazy way out. But it's a trap. It's a trap, right? You think you're going to benefit, but over the long term, you lose out. Yeah, doesn't help you. Doesn't help you. Very, very powerful this to understand that we worry sometimes because we think we should, or it relieves us of guilt and makes our lives easier, but it doesn't really. All right, so let's continue on to the next slide here. When we find ourselves saying self-defeating statements, especially out of mindless habits, we can use a few techniques to remedy such behaviors. We can immediately say out loud with energy and emphasis, cancel, cancel, cancel. So the next time you say, oh, I'm so forgetful, you go, cancel, cancel, cancel. I mean, say it with energy and emphasis and say it out loud. Yes, cancel it. Set that intent, set the emphasis to cancel the nonsense that you just said, the idiot nonsense that came out of your mouth. Yeah, cancel it. Very, very powerful technique, but you've got to do this out loud. You can't just go inside. Oh, okay. No, no, no. Sorry, that's not going to cut it. You got to say it out loud, right? Very important. And overcome your self-importance if you can't say it out loud, right? Takes less energy to change your anxiety and worry than to sit with it. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's just a belief that it's this big deal that's impossible to do in this big hassle. No, it's not a reality. But this point of when you do something or say something stupid, it happens, right? Or whatever. Just say cancel. I don't mean that. Okay, I'll take it back. Take it back. Cancel, cancel, cancel. Right? And it's very, very powerful. And it also gets you into the habit of drawing attention to the thing that you don't want to say, and then you don't say it again. So it's a very, very powerful technique. I can't even remember when last I used this, but I have used it in the past a lot. It's a very, very powerful thing. Very, very powerful. All right. So when we use this, then we can replace the unwanted statement with a more accurate and desirable statement, which is both realistic, accurate, and positive. Right. So this is very key, right? It's not only the cancel, 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 what you do immediately afterwards. So let's say again, you said, oh, I'm so forgetful. It's not just about saying the forgetful thing. Of course, look what goes with that. It's like, oh, poor me. I'm so, feel sorry for me. Give me some sympathy, right? Isn't that what that's all about? When people say that, oh, I'm so forgetful. Yeah. Just looking for some sympathy and self-pity and all sorts of stuff that they're doing, right? I see you, person. People always, when they do this stuff, they think that nobody sees what they're doing. Everybody sees what you're doing. They just don't say anything about it. Yeah. It's amazing. I think they get away with it. Anyway, Bina's here too. Brilliant, brilliant. Hello, Bina. Hello, hello. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Yes, wonderful. So when you say something foolish that you don't mean to say, cancel immediately. Cancel, cancel, cancel. And then say it in the positive. you know what? I just didn't remember one thing, but look at all the other things I remember today. I remember to do this. I remember to do that. I remembered a ton of things. Actually, my memory is really good. Replace it with a positive. Now, be absolutely mindful. We discussed this elsewhere in the program. If you are going to make self-affirmative statements, make sure they are true. Yeah. For instance, you don't have to say, I've got a good memory because, well, I don't know, maybe you don't feel like you got a good memory. Not yet. But you can say honestly and truthfully, I remember more things than I forget. This is an absolute fact. For anybody, you couldn't exist if you, yeah. So, I mean, just think of all the words that you remember, that you speak. I mean, look around you. Norma did this exercise, the remembering exercise. Exactly, Norma. Remembering and then congratulating the brain, right? So, yes, exactly. So take a simple exercise for exactly, right? This is the exercise that Norman did, and it's a great exercise, right? So we can just say, look around you, and say, okay, just look at your desk, and start naming every single thing, including the components on your desk. Okay, so for instance, when you start naming things, okay, what do I have here, right? I mean, first of all, it's a stack. Well, not first of all, but it's a stack. It's a stack of notes. It's a stack of sticky notes. It's yellow notes. It's blue notes. It's square notes. It's paper notes. Oh, paper comes from trees. Do you see my point? When you start to connect that, it's like, wow, and they're bound together with glue over there, and you can fan them, and they make a nice sound, and it kind of feels good too when you do that. I'm remembering a zillion things. See? And I started with one item on my desk. One. That was one that gave me, 20 things that I remembered. Yeah. And so on and so forth. You're going to, when you do this, I mean, just finish the items on your desk and then see how many things you remembered. Hundreds, not a problem, right? I mean, I say, wow, I've got a good memory. I remember all the stuff. Now, did you always know the stuff? No, it's not like you can say, well, duh. It's like when you were a child, you didn't know the names of all this stuff. You had to learn them and you had to remember them. We have incredible memories, which we absolutely mess up because we insist on saying when we do happen to forget something, oh, suddenly it's bad. No, your computer, which is supposedly has a perfect memory, does not always remember things properly. How many times have you done a search and you didn't find something and you know it's there? Why isn't it being pulled up? Because it wasn't tagged right. Yeah. So when somebody filed it, this was supposed to go in self-improvement, and they put it in self-escalation. I don't know, just for argument's sake. Yeah. Like, what the heck? Okay, typo. All right. It's not a good example of a typo from self-improvement to self-escalation. I can't think of a typo for self-improvement, right? Or maybe you type self-deprovement, maybe. All right. My point is that if we don't tag the things properly, then we can't retrieve them. And our brains work via association. So when we remember something, we don't just put one tag, we put a whole bunch of stuff, right? Look like on this thing here now. I mean, I had a whole bunch of tags, right? I had a stack of notes, sticky notes, paper notes, convenience, I mean, there's all sorts of tags that go with it, right? I mean, clever idea. A lot of people remember sticky notes because sticky notes was sort of, when it came out, it was one of the first, like, oh, clever ideas. Today we see this all the time with clever ideas, but sticky notes was one that came about like this, right? And it was an ordinary person as well. Another thing that goes with sticky notes. See, my brain is starting to make all these associations now. I think it was like a housewife or somebody who said, oh, I needed something, and they came with this invention out of need. Yes, and it became this big hit, big seller, and it was very inspiring for a lot of people, and you can go look it up. So we need to do this exactly. Remember and congratulate the brain. Get onto a good, better, best system rather than a bad, neutral, okay system. Yeah, or bad, okay, good. No, get on a good, better, best system. On my worst day, my memory is fantastic. Same as your computer. Yeah, but we only notice the things that go wrong. We don't notice what goes right. Your computer is doing a million processes a second over there, and you don't say, well done, computer. Well, get into the habit of paying attention to the things that do work and shift your attention. You're going to end up in living in a world of appreciation and marvel and wonder, rather than in a world where you only notice the crap and the things that don't go the way you want them to, and then you're all miserable and upset. What a horrible waste of attention and energy and focus. Yeah. So this is a profound habit, and this is our old self is trained in this negative way of being. It comes from the superiority paradigm, right? And our task is to break out of this and change. Now, you could say, wouldn't it be better if we grew up positive? Yes, maybe, but we have to learn to be deliberately positive, not be positive because you were trained to be so, because then it doesn't mean anything if it's just a program in you. When you choose it, then it means something, right? So we have to do this stuff deliberately. It's very, very powerful. So to get back to our slide here, right? When we find ourselves saying self-defeating statements or anything, say cancel, 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 and immediately replace it with a positive, realistic replacement, right? It must be realistic, right? So, I've spoken about this many times before, that when we make self-affirmations, we need to be realistic. Yes. So if let's assume you have been struggling with your memory because you've been emphasizing it, right? Then don't say, okay, you say, oh, I forgot again, right? And say, oh, you know what? I also remember. But you can start now. You're working on your memory, so don't replace it with say, you know what? I've got a really good memory. Let's assume you are struggling with your memory, right? And then you can say, but my memory is getting better all the time. That's true because you're working on it. You're making an effort to improve your memory. It's my forgetting's not as bad as it was. See, make those type of accurate statements, which are a progression that's leading you towards somewhere. And then the more you say that, it starts to feed on itself because it's true. And then after a while, you can say, you know what? I don't have memory issues anymore. There you go. Right? And pay attention to whether something is statistically an anomaly. And now so what if I forget something? Like, okay, even if I forget 10 things in a day, it's still very little compared to what I remember. It's not an issue. Don't make it an issue. Further, we can refocus our expectations and assumptions, and especially also make a note of our habit and set an intent to change these, and then set about doing so. That's the key. Yeah. So when you say something that you don't want to say, use that as an opportunity to pay attention to what's going on. Oh, this is a habit of me saying, a habit of me doing. Oh, I want to change this habit. I don't have to have this habit. But habits can't get changed unless you're aware of them, right? So use that opportunity to be aware of it. Yeah, pay attention to it. It's very powerful thing when you do notice things, because you can use that as an associative mechanism for associating what you want to change with it. Yes, very, very powerful. Here's a cool quote here. Emphasis and attention are the amplifiers, the links to more. Receptivity is the invitation to more. Perspective is the lever. Attunement empowers the appropriateness. Alignment connects the power. Discipline is the incubator. Patience is the discipline. Forbearance, sometimes the price. Positive expectation, the navigator. Mood and attitude, the enablers. Timing, the switch of the magic that is intent. From Way of Impeccability, Insights and Intents. Holy moly. Okay, so this quote here, we can have a whole a whole show just on this quote. Yeah. There's a ton in this. There's a ton in this. So I'm going to go through it a little bit slower here, right? Emphasis and attention are the amplifiers. Okay, now I'm going to break it down here, right? The amplifiers of what? Of intent, because all of these things are intent, right? The links to more, right? So emphasis and attention are also not only amplifiers, but they links to more. Receptivity is the invitation to more, and perspective is the lever, right? To more in terms of getting our intent. Yes. Receptivity is the invitation. When we're receptive, we open, we give the benefit of the doubt, we assume things make sense so that we can be maximally receptive. Because if I don't believe something makes sense, I'm not receptive to it actually making sense, right? I'm kind of close to it. I start shutting it down, and I'm not able to see how it could make sense when that sense is outside of my experience, yes? So assuming something makes sense is very key to receptivity. So that's why it's an invitation to more. Because when we are receptive, we are able to say that which I don't know, that which doesn't make sense to me. I'm going to assume and give it this idea that it does make sense, even if I can't see how. Once I say it does make sense without seeing how, I then figure out how. Yeah. So it works in reverse. A very profound, very, very sophisticated conception, right? If you want to know more about receptivity, ask Bina. Okay. So receptivity is this invitation to more, capital M more. Perspective and perspective shifting is the lever, right? And when we say a lever, I literally mean it like you're using a lever to leverage something, right? Like like your car, when you jack it up, you move that lever, there you go, jack up your car, right? Many ways to use levers, but a lever allows us to do something that we are unable to do without the lever. Yes. So perspective is a lever for us to connect to moreness. It's a lever for our intent. When you can shift perspectives, especially if you can shift perspective to multiple perspectives, super, super, super powerful, right? Perspective shifting is one of the most incredible tools we have. Everybody wants to be smarter. I always saying, you want to be smarter, pay attention to implications. Learn how to perspective shift to multiple perspectives. I'll make you smarter just like that, right? When you employ a plumber, an engineer, a carpenter, or whatever, you got something that's broken in your house, your engine, your machinery is broke, whatever, right? What does the expert come in, right? If you get somebody who's not very expert, they look at it and say, well, it could be this. The more expert they are, they'll say, well, it could be this or that or that or that or that or that or that. Because they are expert, they have a greater range of perspectives on what it could be. Yes. And this is huge. This is massive because, of course, at some point, the true expert is going to see all the possibilities and he's going to say, well, this is the most likely one, and he'll start there, which saves him time. It may not be that's just the most likely, but if it's like 90% likelihood, 9 times out of 10, he's going to get to the problem the first time. On the 10th time, it may be the second or the third thing he tries. See, so this is a massive energy saving efficiency technique. Not only that, but you get to see and understand things better when you can see them from all perspectives, right? Very, very, very powerful. Attunement empowers the appropriateness. When we are attuned, when we connected, when we're in the flow of things, that enables us to be more appropriate than we are otherwise not. Alignment connects the power, right? You've got to align with the thing. Okay, so when you attune, it's like with the surfers sitting out there on the waves, right? And every time you watch the surfers, every now and then you'll see them paddle a little bit one way, paddle a little bit the other way. What are they doing? They attuning themselves to be in the right place for where the wave breaks, because the waves don't always break on the same place because they're different sizes, the waves, and all sorts of factors involved, right? Or they'll go a little deeper, they'll come a little shallower. It all depends on the waves, right? The waves are changing all the time. Doesn't look like it if you're not a surfer, but they do. They change all the time. And they come in sets as well, typically sets of 3. It's quite fascinating. Anyway, but when that surfer actually catches the wave, that's when they're aligning with the power, because a wave is just power. It's wind power that's stored up in the water. It's moving along, right? That's what it is, right? I mean, you can have waves when there's no wind. Yeah, it's quite fascinating. So attunement is positioning yourself to be able to catch the wave. Alignment is actually catching and riding the wave. Yeah. Discipline is the incubator. Think about that. When we are disciplined, we're staying tight. We're doing what we need to do. We're doing what we want to do. We're doing what has to be done. And we don't put it off. We don't say, make excuses, whatever. We do it. And in that doing, we incubate, yeah? Which means something is kind of brewing, stewing, growing inside there. We're giving it space to grow, right? Like an egg incubator, for instance, right? An egg is growing inside there, right? Sooner or later, it's going to hatch. Patience is the discipline. Patience is a superpower if we have the discipline to use it. Yes. Patience, if you have true patience, you don't need discipline anymore because you put all the work of learning to be patient. You've already applied that discipline. And now it is this innate automatic discipline. It's a very powerful thing, patience, to truly be patient. Yeah. Be patient. Forbearance, which is kind of hanging in there when things are really tough. And you basically, forbearance is accepting suck as the price you're paying for whatever you're doing. And you don't give up because of it. You keep going, right? And it sucks, but you keep going. That's forbearance, right? That's sometimes the price we have to pay to get where we want to go, right? And when we look at this, is of the magic that is intent. When you put up an intent, sometimes you need to have that forbearance to stick it through. Oh, hearing weird sounds over here. Positive expectation, the navigator. This is very key. If you don't have a positive expectation of where you're going to go, I mean, let's think of you on an ocean ship, right? In the old days, the sailing boats. Well, your positive expectation, you had an expectation that you were going to get to the other side of the ocean. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there, right? You wouldn't start. And many didn't go on those ocean voyages for the longest time because they didn't have a positive expectation that you would get somewhere. They thought you're going to fall off the end of the earth or be eaten by monsters. Yeah. So positive expectation, very powerful navigator. Mood and attitude, the enablers. Yeah. You don't have appropriate mood and attitude, you're not going to be enabled. Yeah. If you have worry and anxiety, what are you going to end up doing? Nothing. Or very little, because, well, to do anything with worry and anxiety as your moods, that just sucks. It's not fun, right? So have appropriate moods and attitudes and realize you can change them. Timing is the switch. If you do all of this stuff and you're paying attention, you're aware, you'll notice the timing. People do say, oh, I've got no timing. No, it's not that you don't have any timing. Anybody's got timing. Timing is simply a matter of being aware and being disciplined with your awareness. Right. So think of it back in the old days when we were hunting, right? What did most people do hunting wise? Oh, we need something to eat, right? Okay, so you go out and hunt, and you take your bow and arrow, your gun or whatever, and you see something and you chase it. Well, what happens when you chase something? Well, it runs away. Okay, you chase it some more. Eventually, you may catch the thing you're chasing. There's a lot of effort, but the smart hunter, the one who's got patience and discipline, just goes anywhere out into the forest or the bush and just sits down. Sooner or later, everything's going to come by him, yes? And he can pick and choose, but only if he has the discipline to stay alert and pay attention. Yeah. So if you have the timing, in other words, what I'm saying, if you have the discipline to stay aware and alert, timing takes care of itself. So that hunter who's sitting there waiting and paying alert, the timing is when to catch his prey, not a problem, right? Okay, sorry, Norma. I know it's a anti-vegan vegetarian example, but it makes the point, about timing. Now, it may be that you out hunting a job, the same thing, Put yourself out there in the appropriate place. Of course, if the hunter is going to go and sit in a place where the animals don't go very often, I mean, yeah, animals go pretty much everywhere, but you'll obviously pick a path that's an appropriate place. Same thing if you're job hunting, put yourself in a place where people are advertising jobs, job fairs, job markets, job websites, whatever, right? So be aware that where you place yourself is also important. Yeah. Part of your discipline. So it's a very powerful quote here. All of this, they leverage this magic that is intent. They add to it. Very powerful way. And this is connected to the deeper intent that we have, which is the intent to get rid of anxiety and worry. But this is not our only intent. Yes. Our intent is to replace it with moreness. Yeah. Like we said with stealing. Sure, I can learn not to steal. I can learn to not worry. I can learn to not to be anxious. But if I succeed in not being anxious, what do I have? Or not worrying? I got nothing. Correct? It's a very important point. So who wants to sit around feeling nothing? Many people would rather choose to feel anxious or worry or fear anything rather than feeling nothing. Yeah. So make sure you replace this with something that you do want. Focus on the positive, on the joy, on the moreness. Yes. Keep calm, don't panic, and memory awakes. Exactly. Exactly. Trust that your memory will come, right? Now, in today's world with computers, I'm going to read your comment in a second, Ramsey. In today's world with the computers, we do a search and it's pretty much instantaneous. But back in the day when you searched, you had to wait, like Google even. Who remembers when Google when you put in a search for Google and they would tell you the time it took, right? And say, okay, your search is going to take 30 seconds or a minute, right? Today, they don't bother with this anymore because it's pretty much instantaneous, right? But they used to take time. And we waited. We had no problem for it. But lo and behold, should we try and do this with our own memories? Now, suddenly it's got to be instantaneous. Well, your memory is very much like Google was back then. It's a very complex system. Your brain is way more bigger than Google. So be aware that when you say it like a program. So it's not coming right away. Okay, a brain, I'm starting a search to remember what was the name of, that first girlfriend that I thought was so marvelous, who's, I can't remember now, right? Okay, well, I do remember her name, but doesn't matter. Wendy. Anyway, so but let that search run and you'll be amazed. You wake up in the middle of the night, oh yes, okay, the search results came in. That's what's her name is. It's incredible how that works. I love it when that happens. It comes at the wildest times, but it works. Set that search deliberately and consciously. You'll be astounded at how your brain works. Sometimes it just has to look through all the alternative options because it wasn't tagged appropriately. Very powerful. Or the tags degraded or got corrupted or whatever. So very, very huge point. Very huge point to do this. Replacement. All right. I want to see what's. Okay. We'll do this next week. Pertinence, relevance, and all important emphasis. Yeah. Okay. So we'll do that next time. I just wanted to see what was next there. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Now Ramsey says, for me, I tried to link all of what I learned and get into something I already know and think it to a positive, link it to a positive feeling. Exactly. Association, tagging is association. Association management is one of the prime managements in Way of Impeccability, right? It's right up there with energy management, habit management, association management. Yes, there's lots of managements, mind management, attitude, all sorts of management, right? It's very key to do this, right? To associate it with a positive feeling. Yes, exactly, because then you make it fun. With time, you remember it better. I remember once we were studying for an exam at university and I decided to sing what I was reading on the tone of a song I like. And it is the only thing I remember still from what all I studied back then. Yes, you had a powerful, powerful associative mechanism. You placed emphasis on it. On top of that, a positive emphasis. You did a whole bunch of things that helped you remember. So yes, absolutely. I mean, if you want to look up, there are many memory tricks. They call them mnemonic devices or mnemonic tricks, but a mnemonic MN, right? Mnemonic devices. You can go look them up. Mnemonic devices and techniques, right? And you can train your brain to be a super memory thing. It's just a matter of learning how to do it. And one of the key mechanisms is association, right? There you go. Mnemonic, exactly. But mnemonic devices and techniques. Because if you just Google mnemonic, you may or may not get that. But if you Google mnemonic devices and techniques, you're going to get all these tricks. You can even say mnemonic tricks as well. Very, very powerful. So it's emphasis and association. Understand how the brain works and then work with the brain rather than against the brain, right? That's why positivity is such a powerful tool. Same thing with patience. Things doesn't, work according to our timetable. We need to work according to the world's timetable. And then things start to go a lot easier and simpler. Really cool. Really cool. Wonderful. Wonderful. Perfect timing. Perfect timing. Absolute pleasure, Ramsey. Absolute pleasure. I enjoy your comments. Great that you all here. Norma, Cheryl, Elise, everybody. It's too cool. That's too cool. Always fun these. Norma, any comments before we go? Nothing? I'll give it a second. I'll give it a second. There's a bit of a delay. It's like a 20-second delay. And then on top of the 20-second delay, you know, may still have to type something. That was pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to next week. We're going to continue and do what's next. Yeah. So it's always fun. You know, we're just doing these one section at a time, but there's so much in the stuff. And then we're not even getting to the tasks and exercises even. If you were to actually do this course, somebody, by the way, and you do it yourself. Now, when you do the tasks and exercises and you do the repeat backs, you do the takeaways, now you are utilizing all of those are techniques for emphasis. Yes. When you just hear things, it's very minimal emphasis. We believe it's wonderful. We tend to believe when we hear things, we know it, but sadly, that's not so. Yeah. So brilliant, brilliant. All right. All right. I'll see you guys all next week. So, and more. So brilliant, brilliant. Yeah. All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye. Too cool. Too cool.